Welcome to Outside Views Politics 101. Today we're tackling a critical question that underpins the very foundation of democracy. How free and fair are elections around the world? Elections are often held up as the gold standard for ensuring representative governance, but the reality is far more complex. From voter suppression to media bias, from outright fraud to subtle manipulation, the integrity of elections varies widely across countries. In this video, we'll explore the factors that influence electoral fairness, examine notable case studies, and discuss the global trends shaping the future of democratic elections. And let's begin with what we mean by free and fair elections. In an ideal world, a free election ensures that all eligible citizens can participate without undue restrictions, intimidation, or coercion. A fair election means that the process is transparent, votes are counted accurately, and the outcome reflects the will of the people. These principles are enshrined in international standards like those outlined by the United Nations and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. But as we know, the gap between theory and practice can be vast. Globally, the state of electoral freedom and fairness varies dramatically. At one end of the spectrum, we have countries like Norway and New Zealand, where elections are generally considered models of integrity. These nations rank highly in global indices with strong protections for voter rights, independent election commissions, and minimal corruption. At the other end, we have autocratic regimes that hold sham elections designed to legitimize their power rather than reflect the will of the people. Think of elections in countries like North Korea or Belarus, where the outcome is often predetermined and opposition voices are silenced. Between these extremes lies a complex spectrum, where even established democracies face challenges to electoral integrity. Take the United States, for example. While it's often touted as the beacon of democracy, the US has faced significant scrutiny over issues like gerrymandering, voter ID laws, and foreign interference. The 2020 presidential election highlighted the vulnerabilities in the system with widespread claims of fraud, despite no substantial evidence, leading to a deeply polarized electorate. Even in democracies with robust systems, the question of fairness can be contentious. Let's talk about voter suppression, one of the most common threats to free elections. In many countries, barriers to voting disproportionately affect marginalized groups. For example, strict voter ID laws, limited polling stations, and burdensome registration processes can make it difficult for low-income or rural population to cast their votes. In some cases, these measures are intentional, designed to reduce voter turnout among groups that are less likely to support the ruling party. The result is a skewed electorate that doesn't accurately represent the broader population. Another critical issue is media bias and misinformation. In an age where social media plays a dominant role in shaping public opinion, the line between free expression and manipulation has become increasingly blurred. Fake news, disinformation campaigns, and algorithm-driven echo chambers can distort the democratic process by spreading false narratives and polarizing voters. Countries like India and Brazil have grappled with the impact of WhatsApp and other platforms being used to disseminate propaganda during elections. And then there's the issue of money in politics. In many countries, the role of campaign financing raises questions about fairness. Wealthy candidates or parties often have a significant advantage, able to outspend their opponents on advertising, outreach, and organizing. And this can create an uneven playing field where elections are won not by ideas but by resources. In the United States, for example, the influence of super PACs and dark money has sparked debates about the role of corporate interests in democracy. Fraud and corruption remain major challenges in many parts of the world. Ballot stuffing, vote buying, and tampering with electronic voting machines are just a few examples of how elections can be compromised. In Zimbabwe, for instance, allegations of electoral fraud have marred recent elections, with opposition leaders accusing the ruling party of manipulating voter rolls and intimidating voters. Similarly, in Venezuela, the government's control over electoral processes has raised serious doubts about the legitimacy of its elections. International monitoring and oversight can play a crucial role in ensuring electoral integrity. Organizations like the United Nations, the European Union, and the Carter Center often deploy observers to monitor elections in countries with a history of irregularities. These missions provide valuable insights into the fairness of elections and help build public confidence in the process. However, their effectiveness depends on the willingness of governments to cooperate, and, unsurprisingly, regimes with something to hide are often less than accommodating. Technology is another double-edged sword in the realm of elections. On the one hand, electronic voting and blockchain technology have the potential to make elections more accessible and secure. On the other hand, cyber attacks and vulnerabilities in electronic systems pose significant risks. The hacking of election infrastructure has become a growing concern, particularly in the context of foreign interference. The 2016 US election and allegations of Russian meddling highlighted just how vulnerable even advanced democracies can be to external manipulation. Despite these challenges, there are also inspiring examples of progress. In countries like Ghana and Senegal, recent elections have been praised for their transparency and the peaceful transfer of power. And these successes demonstrate that even in regions with historical challenges to democracy, meaningful reforms and strong institutions can make a difference. So what can be done to ensure freer and fairer elections around the world? First, strengthening independent electoral commissions is essential. These bodies must be empowered to oversee elections impartially, free from political interference. Second, investing in voter education is crucial. Informed citizens are better equipped to recognize manipulation and demand accountability. Third, governments must address systemic barriers to voting, ensuring that all citizens have equal access to the ballot box. And this includes expanding early voting, improving voter registration processes, and combating disinformation. And finally, international cooperation is key. By sharing best practices and holding one another accountable, countries can work together to uphold the principles of democracy. At the end of the day, elections are more than just a mechanism for choosing leaders. They are a reflection of a society's commitment to fairness, equality, and representation. When elections fail to meet these standards, the consequences can be dire, eroding public trust and undermining the legitimacy of governments. The question of how free and fair elections are around the world is not just academic, it's a matter of global importance. It's a challenge that requires vigilance, reform, and a commitment to the principles of democracy. So, especially today, thank you for joining me on Outside Views Politics 101. And if you found this exploration of electoral integrity insightful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below the video. This is Outside Views Politics 101, and I look forward to seeing you next time as we analyze another critical issue shaping our world. And the next video is right here in the end screen.